Hey there, this is Monolith guy. With Xenoblade 3 releasing very soon now, it is time to address an old topic that keeps coming up in the context of Xenoblade 2. So before we proceed to the next generation of Xenoblade, let's talk about a complaint 5 years in the making. Even at the risk of upsetting some people, let me tell you that part of why I love Xenoblade 2 is because of these rare sexual humor scenes it features, not in spite of them. Today I want to take a look at 3 of the most prominent scenes that certain people like to complain about, and I want to tell you why I greatly enjoy these scenes. We've heard the criticism for more than 5 years, now it's time for the praise to be heard. Let's go! The scene starts with a quick overview of who's present in the room. Seeing Dromark with his sleeping head is never not hilarious. Then the action begins. Mythra wakes up and believes Rex has snuck into her bed, when actually the opposite is the case, and she sleepwalked into his bed. What makes this interesting to observe is how different Mythra's personality is from what you're used to before. Usually she's an angry, easily offended girl, but in her sleep she cuddles closer to Rex, holding his arm, and couldn't be cuter. This changes back to normal then, and ends with a glimpse of full-on tsundere behavior towards Rex. It couldn't be more of the classic "it's not that I like you" or anything baka trope. But that's not where the scene ends. It also gives us this hilarious exchange between Dromark and Gramps, 2 characters we hardly ever see interacting. And of course there's Tora randomly being hit by flying items too. In this 2-part scene, we see Tora and Poppy. The first one shows Poppy's activation and how an old program of hers makes her behave like a stereotypical maid. Later in the game, you can then see an optional heart-to-heart scene where Bridget and Pyra find some other clothing for Poppy, namely a bunny girl costume. This isn't funny only because of the hilarious presentation, but also for the nice throwback to older anime. The whole robot maid girl is an established trope in anime, such as the wholesome Mahoromatiko from Studio Gainax from the year 2001. Poppy clearly takes inspiration from these classic anime, and it makes for a nice feeling of nostalgia for the older weeps among us. The scene also ends with Tora getting punished or asked about his views on women, so it's not like there isn't some opposition to his quirks. What rounds up the funny of these scenes is Poppy wailing around her arms during all of this, like she doesn't have a care in the world. Not the worst attitude to have. The very start of this scene made me burst out in laughter. Pyra, being the good girl she is, pouring tea for Tora, yet he immediately, like some supreme tea connoisseur, goes, "Oh no, you did it all wrong." And then, instead of giving a proper explanation about tea pouring, delivers his lines about being a proper maid and being more blushy crushy. That made up word is amazing. The Japanese original is moe, of course, but nobody in the West would have understood that. But blushy crushy somehow perfectly encapsulates the silliness that makes something moe too. Pyra then is following up with another hilarious reaction. She's honestly shocked about learning that she is lacking something. Of course, we know that she's not lacking anything here, but her innocent nature has her believe Tora word for word. And the promise of making Rex fall for her is all the motivation she needed to play along with Tora's instructions. We then get to see Poppy giving instructions to Pyra on how to be a perfect, blushy crushy maid for Rex. During the entire scene, kneels in the back and tries to be the voice of reason, commenting on how unbelievable all of what is transpiring before her eyes is. All of the 3 scenes in Xenoblade 2 have just the right amount of humor and character building, adding a lot to all of the involved characters. We have Mythra showing a softer side, we have Pyra showing what she's willing to do to win Rex's heart, and we have Bridget and Pyra opposing Tora's at times too pervy ideas. The amount of actual sexual content in these scenes is minimal, however, it only serves as a catalyst for what follows. But even at face value, a small number of scenes with sexual humor should be perfectly fine with any reasonable person. We're talking about like 5 or such scenes total in a game that offers well over 100 hours of playtime. A game of such length is not defined by a fraction of scenes like this. And some of the best, most popular anime in the world feature scenes like this and worse, quotation marks. Let's take a look at some of those. Whether it is Puff Puff and Dragon Ball, where Muten Roshi, the teacher of hero Son Goku, wants to put his face in between the breasts of 16-year-old Bulma and he's tricked by the magical pig character Oolong, who transforms into the girl, pretending to be her. Which is funny, because it both tricks the horny old guy, but also backfires on the girl when Oolong gives much more service than what was promised. In Neon Genesis Evangelion, 14-year-old Asuka storms into the kitchen while naked and is coincidentally being covered up by Misato-san's strings in the foreground. It's a funny scene, because on one hand the girl stands there naked without a care, on the other hand the show manages to hide anything too intimate by unexpected coincidences. Also, a similar scene appeared in the original series, where it was hero Shinji storming in naked, so it has a nostalgic feel to it too. The Naruto series is full of such scenes, especially when Jiraiya, another teacher figure for the hero, appears and either spies on cute girls or demands that Naruto uses ninjutsu to transform into a sexy female version of himself. And scenes like these aren't just from past times anime. In an elaborate scene in the currently mega popular Demon Slayer, one of the three main characters, Zenitsu, literally drags his friends around to tell them about the qualities of girls, and he's not talking about their intelligence here. The way it's presented is super funny though, when both his friends are struggling with the super hard Demon Slayer training, and Zenitsu is actually using it as an excuse to flirt with the girls and even get a little touchy with them, earning himself a punch or two as a result. Ecchi scenes have a long history in popular shonen anime. They're a very Japanese tradition. Not everyone will like them, but to treat Xenoblade 2 like some paria when it only features something that is absolutely normal in the genre, that's no longer okay. These scenes do not need any defending because they're fine to exist, and what's definitely not okay is to attack the people who enjoy this content and call them some of the worst insults, whether it's the P word or just some random "you're alt-right if you like this." Like, what the heck? Just because different people enjoy different things doesn't make them Nazis. Someone who likes something you dislike isn't automatically from an extreme political spectrum. That makes no sense. I myself am on the pretty far left side, and that's the only time I will ever mention politics on this channel. Everything that happens in Xenoblade 2 is fiction, and people who cannot discern fiction from reality or make anti-factual claims like "this leads to the real thing" are out of their mind. Please excuse me for being a bit more emotional than usual, but it is a great source of frustration to me when I see certain people trying their hardest to have these scenes removed from future Xenoblade games. The very scenes that make me love these games so much, because they make the game's world feel more alive, more real, and not as sanitized and perfectly clean as most video games unfortunately have become nowadays. If Xenoblade 2 were full of pervy humor, I wouldn't enjoy that either. But 5 or so scenes in over 100 hours of content? That's bearable for anyone with a sane and stable mind. Let's hope Xenoblade Chronicles 3 will feature some adult humor too. In other words, let's hope Tora is still alive somehow. Can you imagine an old man Tora? Bye bye.
Did I what? You've got a lot of nerve, you one-eyed monster.
Nia, you do know one-eyed monster usually means...
Huh? Means what?
Mithra, why are you blushing?
Shut up!